The rain was falling in heavy sheets the night Daniel Turner saw a face he never expected to see again. He had been rushing home from his late shift, pushing through the storm with a hood pulled low, thinking only about getting back to his 7-year-old daughter, Mia. But then he stopped, froze, really, as the headlights of a passing bus illuminated a woman sitting on the cold pavement, soaked through, shivering, and clutching a cardboard sign with trembling fingers. Her hair was plastered to her cheeks, her clothes stained and clinging to her skin, and yet even through the blur of the downpour, Daniel recognized her. It was his ex-wife, Emily, once the brightest, most unstoppable force he had ever known, now reduced to a fragile silhouette in the rain. His heart punched painfully against his ribs, because whatever had happened to her, he had never imagined anything like this. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, or second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Stories like this remind us how fragile and precious life can be. Daniel's first instinct had been disbelief. Emily had been the one who left, walking out 3 years earlier in pursuit of a life she said she deserved, one free from responsibility, struggle, and the weight of being a mother before she was ready. When she left, Daniel was forced to rebuild everything from scratch. He worked 2 jobs, raised Mia alone, and tried to erase the bitterness that crept into his chest each time he remembered the feeling of watching someone he loved walk away. He never expected to see Emily again, and certainly not like this. As he stepped closer, he noticed the hollow look in her eyes, the sunken cheeks, and the sharp tremble of her hand as she held out a paper cup, hoping for a mercy that few stopped to give. She didn't even look up at first, as though she couldn't bear to meet the eyes of the world. But when she finally lifted her gaze and saw Daniel standing there, her breath caught, her body stiffened, and a mix of shock and something like shame swept across her face. In that moment, every memory Daniel had ever buried came rushing back, the good ones, the painful ones, the confusing ones. Seeing her like this didn't bring him satisfaction. It didn't make him feel vindicated or superior. All he felt was a sickening heaviness, a recognition of just how far she had fallen. It was strange how suffering didn't erase love completely, it only muted it, reshaped it into something raw and complicated. Emily whispered his name under her breath, her voice barely audible over the downpour. Daniel felt himself swallowing back a knot of emotion he hadn't prepared for. He bent down slowly, shrugging off his coat and draping it around her shoulders even as she protested weakly. That small act, one he didn't even think about, was enough to send tears spilling down her cheeks, mingling with the rain. Emily's story came out in pieces, fragmented and hesitant. After she left, her life spiraled in directions she never expected. The men she ran away with turned out to be abusive and volatile. She lost her job, her home, and eventually her sense of self. She admitted she had been too ashamed to come back, too frightened to face the consequences of her choices, too broken to believe she could start again. She confessed that she had seen Daniel and Mia from a distance months earlier but had run the other way, convinced she didn't deserve forgiveness. As she spoke, Daniel's mind was a storm of emotions, anger, sorrow, helplessness, but above all, he felt the weight of her pain settling over him like an anchor. Life had punished her enough. Whatever resentment he had carried didn't matter anymore. Daniel couldn't walk away. Not from the woman who had once been his wife. Not from the mother of his child. He helped her to her feet, held her steady as she swayed, and guided her through the rain back to his car. She kept apologizing, kept insisting she didn't deserve his kindness, but Daniel stayed quiet, his jaw set and his heart aching. When they arrived home, Mia had already been tucked into bed by the babysitter. Daniel led Emily inside and watched, almost painfully, as she took in the living room, the family photos, the school drawings, the small but warm space that Mia loved. Emily touched one of the framed photos with shaking fingers, tears building again. It was a picture of Daniel and Mia at the park, smiling, carefree, taken long after Emily had gone. The realization of everything she had missed seemed to hit her all at once. That night, Daniel offered her the guest room. She hesitated, but exhaustion won out. He went to bed late, lying awake for a long time, trying to understand the tangled knot of feelings inside him. The next morning, Mia padded sleepily into the kitchen and froze when she saw Emily at the table, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes puffy but soft. For a moment, nobody breathed. Then Mia, sweet, forgiving, innocent Mia, ran straight into her mother's arms as though the last 3 years had never happened. Emily crumpled, breaking into deep, uncontrollable sobs as she clung to her daughter. Daniel watched from the kitchen counter, his chest tightening at the sight. It was the first time he had seen Emily look like herself again, fragile, yes, but human, real, and no longer hiding behind pride. The days that followed were difficult. Emily was determined to make amends, but rebuilding trust was a slow, painful process. Daniel found himself battling old wounds he thought had healed. Letting her stay temporarily became both a test and a turning point. He watched her try, really try, to be present for Mia, to help around the house, to regain her footing. She apologized often but never asked for pity. Instead, she worked to earn back something she feared she had lost forever, the right to be in her daughter's life. Daniel recognized the sincerity in her, even if part of him still hesitated to fully trust it. But whenever he questioned whether he was doing the right thing, he thought of the woman shivering in the rain, holding a cardboard sign, and he knew life had already shown her the harshest consequences. There were setbacks and tense moments, but there were also small breakthroughs. Emily found work cleaning offices at night. She attended therapy. She began saving money. Slowly, she rebuilt a semblance of stability. Daniel realized that helping her didn't weaken him, it strengthened Mia's future, and in a way, it healed a part of him he didn't know was still wounded. Kindness wasn't a weakness. It was a bridge, one Emily needed, one Mia deserved, and one Daniel could offer without losing himself. Weeks later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Daniel stood on the porch watching Mia and Emily plant flowers together. The scene felt surreal, fragile, and unexpectedly beautiful. Emily looked healthier now, her eyes clearer, her posture steadier, her smile no longer haunted by fear. Daniel felt a warmth spread through him as he realized that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting the past, it was about choosing the future. His life had been marked by struggle, sacrifice, and heartbreak, but now it was also marked by compassion, healing, and second chances. And when Emily glanced up at him with gratitude shining in her eyes, Daniel knew something inside him had shifted forever. He couldn't change what had happened, but he could choose who he wanted to be moving forward. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional, and inspiring stories to life. Before you go, comment below, do you believe people can truly change if given one last chance?